So thank you guys for coming today. I have a very special speaker here, Robin Todd. She's going to give you guys an overview of mindfulness and the Whole Health 360 program that we're going to be doing this year at Fight. Everyone's going to have an opportunity to enroll in this program, and for the initial phase, 30 people will be accepted into it, and you'll get a better idea of what that is and what to expect as Robin gives you more information here this afternoon. So, I hope you guys are enjoying your lunch, and you probably noticed, and some of you have made mention of it, thank you Penny, that we do not have a sign-in sheet for your attendance today. That is intentional, and if you guys have the app on your phones, you can get credit right now, but Robin wants you to be present with her, so please put those phones away once the presentation begins. But you can do it right now, but not once while I'm talking. You guys feel free to be distracted, not listen, talk, just like the usual, right? But if you go under rewards, activities, learning and enrichment, you will see a mindfulness presentation. You enter one thing that you learned today and click the button, and you get credit for your attendance. So instead of putting your signature on a piece of paper, you go and tell us one thing that you learned. What that will help is for me to know a little bit about what you guys are getting out of these presentations, and I'm also asking for one thing that you would have liked to have learned. So if you did not learn something that you would have liked to have learned, that will help us shape future presentations and learning opportunities. Does that sound fair? Your points are still available whether you watch it here, live and in person, or online. I'll make it available for you online as well. Same way to earn those 10 points. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about this? You can do it on the app, you can do it on the portal, web portal. It's the same way to get those points. There's nothing different about those things. So without any further ado, because she's got some content that I can't wait for you guys to hear about, Ms. Robin Todd will speak to you guys about mindfulness, the Whole Health 360 program, and what she can do to help you guys out. So, anything else you need from me? It's all yours.
I might have you jump in at the end if there's things I missed about the whole.
I will gladly jump in.
So thank you, Alan, for inviting me to be here. I appreciate it. I love this. This is awesome. So whether it was the food or the points or whatever got you here, I'm grateful. I love to share the message of mindfulness, and I love that I'm going to have an opportunity to come and share even more with you starting in February. So this is just a little teaser day to give you kind of an overview of what we're going to be doing. So before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Robin Todd. I got my undergrad degree in psychology many years ago, and actually went into elementary education. So I was an elementary school teacher, taught 6th grade, 4th grade, kindergarten, and I was a parent educator with parents as teachers in Lee Summit for a while. So I love teaching. About 7 years ago, I decided I needed something different. And so I started at Adams University. I was planning on going into counseling, getting my master's, kind of continuing my passion of psychology. And I learned early on there that maybe doing therapy wasn't a good fit for me. At the same time, I was introduced to a curriculum in the area of mindfulness. And I will be honest with you, I really didn't even know what mindfulness was. But that was the beginning of my interest and my curiosity. I joined Dr. Moran Hunt's lab on the Avalon campus. She had a mindfulness lab, and started doing research with her, and I just started learning it myself, using it myself, and I just fell in love with it. So fast forward, graduated with my master's in psychology 3 years later, and launched my business Mindful Momentum. So for me, it's the dream job I never knew existed. So I get to teach, which I love, and then I get to empower people with tools to just create the life that's most meaningful to them. And so this is my purpose, it's my passion, it's what I've been left on this earth to do, I have no doubt. So yeah, I teach to all kinds of organizations. I do individual teaching, I do with nurses and with school districts, and so Anywhere and everywhere is what's available to me. So we're just going to jump right in. I want this to be completely comfortable and casual. If you have a question, a burning question, just let me know as I'm going, or jot it down, and I'll try and have a little bit of time at the end for some questions and answer time. But I really want to be able to allow some time for that if you have some thoughts that you'd like, some questions you'd like answered to. So let's just start. We're just going to really begin basic, right? What is mindfulness? What's it all about? You may have heard of it. You may know a little bit about it, but no matter where people are, I always like to start so we're all on the same page. Mindfulness is basically being in the present moment without judgment. So we're getting our thoughts to this moment right here, right now, right? So that means that we're turning off ruminating on the past, whether it was something happened before you got here, or yesterday, or last week, or last year, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 30 years ago. Some of that stuff bubbles up, and we start spinning on it. We spend a lot of time ruminating on things in the past. It also means that we turn off all the worrying and the wishing that we do in the future. Our brain loves to live in the future. It's always trying to predict what's going to happen. It's a great thing that's hardwired in our brain because it's trying to keep us safe. But we spend so much time worrying about things that most likely will never happen. And when our thoughts are ruminating on the past and worrying about the future, we are not in the present moment. So that's the first trick. Then the second piece of being mindful is to really be in this present moment and allow whatever to unfold. Because unfortunately, to this present moment, we bring all this baggage. Memories, beliefs, expectations, assumptions, instead of just seeing what's in this moment right here, right now, right, with no strings attached. And so we have the ability, if we are in that place of non-judgmentalness, then to experience whatever's happening as it is. And so what we know from research is that the average person, if we talk about our day of wakefulness as being 16-hour day, some research has found that the average person is not present over 7.5 hours of the day. Over 7.5 hours of your day, you are doing one thing and thinking of something else. You're talking to somebody and a word triggers you and you start ruminating on something. You're driving to work. Who's thinking about driving? Right? You're thinking about all the things you have to do or that you did or something else, right? We spend so much time not in the present moment. But what's interesting is the research has found is that we are actually happier in the present moment. You're happier. And it makes sense because it's kind of this place that's just free. It doesn't have all the weight of all of this and all of this hanging on us, okay? So that's what mindfulness is all about. Here's a quick little video that's kind of fun I wanted to share with you. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. So I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. Immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometime? Aren't I justified? I'd say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friend, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists looked in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribes for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Okay, so can anybody relate to that? Yeah? Yeah. So maybe you can't relate to getting cut off on the road, right? But certainly there are many other things that relate to that, right? Those things that we can't control that happen. So we know we can't control the person who cuts us off. When they cut us off and they just keep going, right? Do they think anything more about it? And yet we can be angry maybe all the way to work. It might start out our day and we might be angry all morning. It might even ruin our whole day, right? We let those things do that when we're not aware, right? And so certainly, as I said, maybe it's not the car for you, maybe it's other things, maybe it's people, maybe it's, you know, all the things that we think about that we can't control. The only thing we have control of is how we respond to it, right? And so that's really what being mindful is all about, is building that awareness so that we can be intentional about how we're living instead of just allowing those emotions and those things in our world to dictate how we live. Because the great news is we do have a choice. We might not know it, but we do. So this is why, of course, well, why is it so difficult to be mindful, right? We kind of probably know that. Well, it's that darn thing, right? And that darn thing. Distractions are everywhere. The ability to be contact people in just immediately, this immediate response, this getting onto social media, and naturally, of course, which if you join the class, you'll start learning some things about how our brain is hardwired in terms of feeling included or excluded or always comparing. Social media is wreaking havoc on our lives. And a couple of stats I want to share with you is the average person is interrupted every 3 minutes. That could be shocking, maybe not. The average person visits Facebook 29 times a day, and the average person checks their email 74 times a day. Now, depending on your profession, you know, some rooms I share that with, and they're like, oh yeah, and then others are like, no way. You know, so wherever you fall in that, it's just a really great example of we're being bombarded, you know, with interruptions all day long, which are distracting. The other thing why it's difficult to be in the present moment is our schedules. We are a society, a culture that lives very overscheduled lives. We're doing more, we have to be more. It's like go, go, go. We are always doing. And people have forgotten how to just be. And we need to just be sometimes. Doesn't mean we always have to just be. We have to be productive in doing things, right? But how can we find balance in our life? It's also this, I love this image. You know, our expectation is life's going to be a straight line. We're going to go from point A to point B, and it's a straight line. Well, I don't know about you, but it's really, the reality is it's almost always a curvy line, right? We have you know, curves and hiccups in the road and obstacles to go through to get from point A to point B. You know, and so how can we just expect the curvy line? You know, things are going to happen. But the curvy line is where we develop grit. It's where we have insight into who we are. It's how we build, you know, those character traits that we want, you know, in ourselves. And so, you know, so how can we just embrace the curvy line and know it? You know, I was thinking the other day, I don't know about you, but I don't really remember any of the straight lines in my life. Well, they were easy, right? Nobody remembers those. It's those curvy lines that were hard, that you had to dig deep, right? And you had obstacles in the way that you got there. Those are the ones we remember because they're the ones that fill us up. So how can we embrace that? So, of course, we know now we're talking about mindfulness in so many different areas because we have the research. As the video said, you know, scientists have swooped in. We now have data. So mindfulness has been around for thousands of years. Okay, people have been talking about the benefits of mindfulness, but we now have that scientific data to support that. And so some of the research shows that it improves stress. Anybody stressed in here? Wow, no one's stressed. Most of us are stressed, right? We live very stressful lives. Now, where you are on that, you know, it may have some ebb and flow to it, but in general, stress is wreaking havoc on our lives. In fact, the CDC, their statistic is that 70 to 90% of doctor visits are due to stress-related illnesses. That's huge. Imagine if we could be a culture in a world where we can have some skills to manage our stress, right? Incredible. We know that it can help with engagement, so just being present with people, being engaged, whether it's with people or with our work. We know that it can help with decision making, right? Really important when I can turn off all the things that I'm ruminating on and all the worries of the future and be in this moment. There is this freedom and openness to make a good decision, right? There aren't distractions taking my thoughts everywhere. It helps with emotional regulation. So again, not getting kind of sucked into the things I'm experiencing and to kind of be able to have that, create that balance. It helps cultivate positivity. Incredible research on the power of positive emotions, which we'll talk about when we start the training. It helps with concentration. I don't know about you, but this is getting harder and harder, again, with those distractions in our world. So we can build that muscle of concentration through simple practices. It helps with memory. I don't know about you, the older I get, my memory, it's like I'm struggling with that. So we know that when we're present, we can retrieve things from long-term memory a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. There's also a lot of research in helping with prevention, things to help prevent Alzheimer's. Someone recently told me that. I haven't looked that research up yet, but she specifically started practicing because she had it in her family. So I still need to look into that a little bit more. It also helps with focus. It helps with managing anxiety. We are a world that is full of anxious people. Our young people are increasingly getting on anti-anxiety medications. My daughter's a third grade teacher in Lee Summit, and there are kids coming to school as first graders with an anti-anxiety medication. You know, this is scary. Anxiety is on the rise. We know there are things we can do to help manage it without medication. It helps with job performance. So organizations have found that job performance increases. It makes sense. Our concentration, our focus is increased, right? And then, of course, then job satisfaction increases because we feel better about what we're doing. We're not feeling scattered and all over the place. It's been shown to help with depression. It helps with creativity. So some organizations bring it in again, so we can turn off all this stuff bouncing around in our heads and just have this openness for creativity. Whether it's creativity for making a decision on a project at work or a thing in life, our personal lives. There's all kinds of places where we need to be creative as a parent. So we also know that it builds resilience. This is a hot topic in our world because we all need to build up some resilience. So filling up with the things so that we can keep on keeping on when times get tough, which of course they will. It also shows that our immune response actually increases. Incredible. So it kind of makes sense. We're reducing our stress so that cortisol in our bodies lower, right? You know, our anxiety is being managed. We're not getting kind of taken away with emotions. And so our body is able to work at its optimal level. So our immune system increases. Some organizations have brought it in just to reduce their healthcare costs, because of course that's significant. So every organization wants their people to be healthy and at work. And so this is one way to help you. It increases that sense of well-being, that all is well, right? It lowers blood pressure, and it's been helping with pain management since the late 70s. So I'm always amazed at how many people silently live with chronic pain. And it's much more prevalent than you realize, because people just don't talk about it. But mindful practices have really helped people manage that pain. So whether it's temporary or long-term, there's things that we can do to help. And so all of that, of course, increases our effectiveness, our efficiency, our productivity, and our overall health. So my hope is that something on this list maybe resonated with you. Like, maybe that is me. Maybe I could use some help with that. Chances are there might be more. So, there's 3 things we need to know to live mindfully, okay? One is, first and foremost, it's awareness plus self-understanding. That's how we're going to create lasting change. So we've been doing for a long time in our world change from the outside in, right? We can tell people what they need to do when they need to do it. We tell our children, we tell our spouses, right? We tell people we work with what they need to do when they need to do it. And they can do it, maybe create a habit even. But what happens when that outside influence stops? Most likely they're going to go back to their old ways of operating, right? Because they have no awareness. And so this is really key. We have to start building an awareness of ourselves and understand ourselves. Because honestly, you're the only one that knows what's going on in your own head. You're the only one that knows when you're feeling anxious, when you're not present, when you're ruminating on something, you can't stop spinning on it, and it's impacting your day and your moment, right? You're the only one that knows those things. And so, so that's how we're really creating change that's going to last for the rest of your life, which is what we want, right? Not temporary, not for this week or this month or this year, but really here and now. So we also know that we talk about finding micro moments within our daily practice. Now, this is not something that I'm going to be asking you to do any kind of sitting meditation for 45 minutes, because if you're like me, you don't have time, right? Nope, most of us don't. If you do that, kudos to you, more power to you. But this curriculum that I'll be sharing starting in February is really about how can we embed these practices in your day. But to do that, we have to be aware of micro moments. Okay, we have them. So let me just back up really quick. The research shows that if we can do something for 10 minutes a day, but it doesn't have to be sustained 10 minutes, 30 seconds here, 2 minutes here, 1 minute here, 3 minutes here. If we can get to 10 minutes by the end of the day, we can actually create a new neural pathway in our brain within 3 months' time. It could impact how we live and experience the world. So how can we find those micro moments? Let me ask you a question. What do you do typically when you have an extra 2 minutes? What do you do?
Go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. That's good. You're taking care of basic needs. I love it. Sometimes people put that off, right? Most people, you pick up your phone, right? Because I don't know, you might have missed something that you checked it. However, just being facetious, but it's just become this habit, right? We have a moment, we pick up our phone. I don't know about you. If you've been to a doctor's office lately, you look around, young people, old people, they're not sitting there making eye contact. Their face is in their phones, right? Now, I'm not here to tell you where that boundary is or what to do or what not to do. That's for you to figure out. But what I encourage people to do is start building awareness of micro moments. So let's just say I get to a meeting or I get someplace and I have 2 minutes. Maybe if I'm aware, I might say, I'm going to take 60 seconds and do one of my mindful practices. Breathe. Look around and be curious. Make eye contact with somebody. Search for a mustard seed of positivity. All the things that we'll be talking about, right? 60 seconds. And then pick up my phone and look what I need to, check in or whatever. So this isn't about me creating a recipe for you. That's for you to create. But we have to start with finding micro moments because we have them. We're just not aware of them, okay? And the third thing is really taking control of the highways in your brain involved with the 3 pillars that I'll be teaching about. The first is attention, what's happening. Attitude, how am I reacting? And aim, what pathways do I want to grow? So those are our 3 pillars. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those in just a second. So our curriculum overview looks like this, just to give you an idea. We start with attention. Where is my attention? We have to really start identifying where our attention is, because whatever we're paying attention to is where our life is. So we want to start building an awareness of where our attention is, okay? And so with each pillar, there's 3 simple micro practices. And our first one is, for session 1, we'll be cultivating a stable attention, which is just that, how do I get into the present moment, create this foundation of just a place just to be, right? Our second one is cultivating an open attention. And that's allowing our thoughts to just notice what our brain is spinning on, and then allowing those thoughts to just kind of go away, right? Allow them to float off, so we can have this space in our brain to just be, or maybe to think creatively, or to make a good decision, or just to rest, right? And then our third one is cultivating a vivid attention, which is helping us notice the things that we're spinning on or we're thinking about, create some space, and gather facts about it. Because what happens is once we get sucked into this situation or this thought, we're running on emotion, and we can't really see it for what it is. It's what our friends kind of give us that objective view for. And this really helps us navigate just things in our world. Attitude, so the first 3 are simple meditations. Again, could be done in 30 seconds or 60 seconds, or with your eyes closed or your eyes open. Could be walking and doing it. There's all kinds of variations. So attitude is our second pillar. Attitude is incredibly important because we bring an attitude to everything in the present moment. We have a lot of attitudes that aren't serving us well. And so if we can start really noticing, building awareness of those attitudes we have, maybe it's somebody you work with, or an expectation at work, something you don't really like to do at work, but you have to, okay? So we can do it with a bad attitude and add to our own suffering, which is much of what we do. We just create this suffering on ourselves, right? But if we could just shift our mindset just ever so slightly, we might be able to change how we experience it, okay? And so attitude is really how am I reacting. So our first practice with attitude is cultivating a curious attitude. Simply being curious. Incredible research in this. Helping us get our faces out of our phones and start looking around to see that there's opportunity, that there's possibility, that there's goodness and there's beauty, and there's just all kinds of things that we stop paying attention to because we're just in this, mode of doing, and we go on autopilot. Our second practice is cultivating a compassionate attitude. We'll specifically start with self-compassion. Self-compassion is incredibly important. We are so hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or a kid or a teen. We have this voice in our head that is always talking to us. And so we need to start tuning into that voice and seeing what is it saying to us. Because the great news is, it's our voice. We get to change the voice, but we have to be aware of it, and then we just have to know how we want to change that. So we talk about the myths of self-compassion. If some of you men are like, I don't know about that. It's just important for men as it is for women. And cultivating a positive attitude. Through positivity, incredible. So we know that positive emotions have the ability to change us on a cellular level. That is the power of our physical reaction to positive emotions. It's incredible, and it's so super easy. We just have to be intentional about it. Our third pillar is aim. So aim is really, where am I going? What's the direction I want to be moving? What's the target I'm shooting for? What's the life I want to live? Who's the person that I want to be? Because honestly, life can hijack us and take us off. And at some point, you may wake up and be like, how did I get here? Who am I? Right? And life is short. And so we can live with intention, but we kind of have to have a plan. And so AIM helps us do that. What are my aims? What are my goals in this moment to align with my aims? So our first is inspired aim. how do I fill up with inspiration to be moving toward the person that I want to be, right? We have to fill up so we can keep going. A lot of us, probably who are givers. Many of you are probably givers out there. We give and we give to all the people around us, and we forget to fill up, okay? And we're going to run dry and get bitter and burn out, or our health is going to start being impacted. Can happen. So, inspired aim. Determined aim is just this. It's very much identifying triggers. So, what's my reaction to this trigger? Does it move me toward my aim, right? When my child comes up and they're like, mom, 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 and you go, stop it, right? Is that the kind of parent you want to be? No, right? But we have that trigger reaction response. And so identifying that, figuring out a practice plan. When X happens, I'm going to do Y, and practicing that, right? And then our last one is generative aim. And generative is this beautiful practice of taking what I know about me. I know when I take care of me, I'm helping take care of we. And when I help take care of we, I'm helping take care of me, because we have a reciprocal relationship with every living person. You may not want to affect the people around you. You may not like that you affect the people around you, but you do. How you live your life affects everyone around you. And so we need to start really recognizing that and understanding, and it's a beautiful way to understand that we are all more alike than different. We have so much in common. We're unique, our stories are unique, our lives are unique, but we are so very much alike. So recognizing that helps us connect with people. We talk a lot about other things involved with that. So out of the 9 practices, 4 are simple meditations, and the other 5 are more growth-building practices. So it's a little bit of mixture of each. I love that. So it's not a heavy, sitting meditation. And again, it's meant to be embedded in your day. You get to work early, you can sit in your car for an extra 30 seconds. You're sitting at a stoplight. You're waiting to pick up your kids from practice. You're waiting in the grocery store line, right? Because you chose the wrong line. It's the longest, right? That always happens to me usually. So if we have a toolbox of tools, if we know we have a moment, then we can pull one out and do it, okay? And that can help us just create the life that we want to live. So, a little bit of the neuroscience. We know we need to understand how the brain's hardwired to begin to develop that awareness and self-understanding. So we start out with brain facts. So everything that I teach you is based in neuroscience research, okay? And so I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this, but we know that our brain loves closure. We know that our brain's an energy guzzler. It's always trying to conserve energy. Lots of the things that are hardwired are always trying to help us conserve energy. We know that we work on autopilot more times than not. Our brain loves to tell us stories, even though it's not a reliable narrative. Fascinating. We can create new neural pathways with practice. We gravitate to the negative. It's a way that our brain is hardwired to keep us safe. We're constantly looking for threats and negativity in our world. Really important from at a time. Not really that necessary now, but yet we still naturally do. So we have to start building awareness of that. The great thing about mindfulness is there are no rules, there's just guidelines, okay? First is, it should be easy and simple, right? It should be to a sense of ease, and it should be simple. Sometimes we try and make things too complicated. This is just, very simple. And we should keep it simple. Time. We have to take time. This is not a quick fix. So I don't want you to sign up and think that your whole life is going to turn around and everything's going to be good by the time we're done with this. Being mindful is an aim. We're never going to get there, but we always want to be moving in that direction. Okay, so it takes time to develop insight. And I know this is tricky because in our world we want quick fixes, right? We want things to happen quickly. But the beautiful thing is the payoff is so worth it. Because the insight that we gain and the roots that we develop and the understanding of ourselves really allow us to really cultivate that person we want to be. And then we also have to be real. So nothing omitted, ignored, taken away. We have to be honest about what we experience. Sometimes with awareness comes some discomfort because we start noticing things about ourselves that we're not really that happy about, right? And so we have to embrace that and notice that, but we do have to be honest and real about our thoughts and our lives. So return on investment, really quick. So at home, this is one thing I love about this, right? It's gonna help me be a better parent, a better neighbor, friend, spouse, daughter, son, community member. It's also gonna help me be at work a better coworker, employee, leader, teacher, coach, volunteer, right? So this is the beautiful thing about it. Return on investment is incredible. It starts to infiltrate every relationship you have in every aspect of your life. It's not just gonna help you do your job at work, or be a better parent, or be a better leader, in your church or whatever. It really starts to impact every aspect of your life. So, it all starts with a decision, right? A decision to just be open to what you can learn, to trying something new, to make a decision to just do something different if you're feeling like maybe you need some help with some of the things that we've talked about. So, we're gonna start February 13th. I think, if I'm accurate, Alan, 3:30 to 4:30, and we're gonna be meeting every 2 weeks. So what I'll do when I come in is we're gonna just spend 45 minutes to an hour together, kind of like our time here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of information, and I'm gonna give you one practice, right? So I have to educate you a little bit on it, and then one practice, and then you have 2 whole weeks to practice. And then we're gonna come back together. How did it go? What did you do? Did you change it up? Did you make it your own? How was it helpful? Or maybe you just forgot and life hijacked, you didn't practice all, and that's okay too, because we want to give ourselves grace when that happens. But that's kind of how it's going to roll until we get through the whole curriculum, which should take us, well, about 6 months. Something like that. But the beautiful thing is, again, it's not a quick fix. It's just going to be kind of slow, trickling information, practicing our practices until we get through the whole program. And I think Alan has some other things that he's going to implement in there as well in the midst of that. So with that, I wanted to leave you with a gift of our very first practice that I teach. And if I go someplace and I only have one opportunity to teach anybody just one thing, this is the practice I teach, okay? It's the first one you'll learn if you sign up for the class. And it's called Justice. And I'm just gonna lead you through this. And it's a simple meditation. And so if you want to get comfortable and have both feet on the floor, just kind of your hands in your lap. Hands in your lap with kind of an open palm. If we can, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Spit went down the road. Hi. If we sit up nice and straight, we can get kind of good airflow into our lungs. And if you feel comfortable, I encourage you to close your eyes. It blocks out about 60% of the stimuli going into our brain. It helps our brain calm. But certainly, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can lower your gaze and just stare at something on the floor, okay? So go ahead and lower your gaze or close your eyes. And we're really just going to begin by noticing our breath. Noticing that life-giving air as we breathe in, breathe out. You might notice the sounds in the room, an itch on your body. Just notice. Bring your attention back to your breath. Allowing our brain to calm. Be in this moment. You notice the heaviness of your feet on the floor. There's some tension in your shoulders. Just breathe to relax. And this time when you breathe in, I'd like you to picture in your mind the word just. J-U-S-T. When you breathe out, I'd like you to picture the word this. T-H-I-S. Breathing in just. Breathing out this. Just. having trouble seeing it, that's okay. Let's try again on the next breath cycle. Attention back to our breath. Back to that life-giving air as we breathe in and breathe out. Feeling grateful for this moment. Savoring the sense of peace. And we slowly open your eyes when you feel comfortable. Did I put anybody to sleep? Especially after lunch, this is tricky, trust me. I see people kind of like fat and happy, you know, and it's kind of warm in here. So how was that? Anybody, were you able to see the words? Just this? Maybe, sometimes I will tell you, sometimes people say I couldn't see them. You know, this is a beautiful thing. You can change it up. Change the words. You can do an image, okay? Sometimes when I work with kids who can't read yet, you know, I have them breathe in a heart for love and out a rainbow for peace, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever brings you that sense of ease is what you want to do, okay? Now let me tell you a little bit about this practice. This is, we can just sit and notice our breath, but what will happen, if you've ever done that, is your mind will start to wander. Your to-do list will pop into your head and then you're gone, right? And so what we're doing here is forcing the brain to focus and concentrate on something. So we're building that muscle of concentration and focus. It's going to allow us to sustain. Now, it's not easy, just like any new habit. Sometimes it takes some time, right, to build that muscle up. So maybe you can sustain that just this for just 1 minute now. And you're going to build that up and to be able to sustain that for longer. So now, the beautiful thing is so it's a simple practice on the surface. But what does that mean moving forward in my life? Not only am I going to be able to sustain that place of quiet longer, I'm going to be able to focus on my project longer. I'm going to be able to stay engaged in a conversation longer, right? It's going to kind of filter into other aspects of my life where I may need focus and concentration. So we start out as just a surface, very simple practice, but the ramifications are really significant. So this practice, this card here has a root of a tree on it, and it's, when I was a kid, hide and go seek was my favorite game. Did anybody else love that game when you were a kid? I love that game. I don't know if kids still play it these days, but I had a big oak tree in the front yard, and that was home base. And you know how you're running, and you're like so scared you're gonna get caught, and then you get to home base and you're like, I'm safe, like, it's good, right? That's what this practice is, okay? That's what it's meant to be. And that's for people who use this practice, that's what they say it helps them. It's just a place we can go anytime, anywhere, to just be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and just rest, right? And maybe you finish that, and then life takes you back to where you were, but at least you've had that little bit of moment, right, to lower your cortisol, to be present, you know, and then continue on your day. So I actually learned this practice 2 weeks prior to a diagnosis of ovarian cancer, 2012. So this practice is near and dear to my heart because it was a huge saving grace for me to navigate that diagnosis. And the story ends well because I'm here. And I'll share much more with you should you decide to go through the training. But this is a great go-to. So it's my gift to you. You know, it all starts with a decision to find a micro moment to just practice and see how it feels, see how it's working. Tweak it, make it well, you know, do with it as you please. Okay, and I think I have, oh, nope, I don't have a quote to end with. So, that's it.
No quote.
I know, I usually have a quote.
Well, I'll stop. One. Your favorite quote.
There's so many. Some of them are long. Let's see, it's probably by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's one of the gurus of mindfulness, and he says, the greatest gift we can give another is our presence. We all want people to be present with us, and that's the greatest gift we can give. So, and I think we're good on time, so Alan has a couple more things.
So, I want to thank you guys for coming today and eating all the food. There's not a single morsel left, so great job with that.
I didn't ask if there were any questions. Any questions?
Does anyone have questions for Robin or for me about the program? I'm going to send out a Google form that you guys will be able to fill out if you guys are interested in joining this. She mentioned kind of a brief outline of it. We'll also mix in some meetings with our dietitian and our nurse, just so you can see how these practices might be put into your lives to maybe help with some of the health outcomes that you might have goals for yourselves with. But my intent and Robin's intent and Fike's intent with introducing this is to give you guys an opportunity, to give you guys a resource, to give you guys a tool that can help you improve your lives, not just for now, not just for Fike, not just as an employee, but for the rest of your lives. And I want you to take these tools and use them wherever life takes you. And so Robin's going to do a fantastic job of training all those that want to take part in this program, and I look forward to it. And I want to make sure that you guys understand and appreciate that opportunity as being presented and given to you. So look for details to come very, very soon. I'm going to wait for the night shift to have their opportunity. I'm going to post this video online and give people opportunity to view that as well. And then everyone's going to have until February to get registered and try to become part of the pilot program. So, without any further ado, questions now? No? Yes? We have 3 minutes remaining before 1 o'clock. So there's a couple pieces of lettuce and some shredded cheese back there. So have at it.
Thank you, guys.